and gentlemen, welcome back to episode 8 of the official South Florida Real Estate Podcast. Today, I have the one and only Brandon McShane with Illustrated Properties. And what's very special about Brandon is he got into the business mid-COVID in 2020. And him and his team, which he runs, it's his team, they are on track to do 14 million this year. Monster numbers. They've doubled year over year. And what I really love about his trajectory is he had the gusto to jump right into the luxury market from the beginning of his career. And he was not born with a silver spoon. He was not born in the luxury market. He is as self-made as they come. All right. So I'm about to introduce you to Brandon McShane, but just wanted to give you a reminder that I am Christopher Molina, president of mortgage sales and senior loan advisor at One Stop Mortgage. We are known for having access to the best rates on the market. Average clear to close is about 6 days. So we're super efficient. We pre-underwrite the files upfront from the very beginning to avoid any error that could possibly happen, unlike banks and so many loan officers out there. So we're all about crystal clear communication, communicating proactively, closing accurately, giving your customer the best service possible with the best rates and making you look stellar. So if you need anything, any pre-approval, give me a call, 561-801-0260. But without further ado, Brandon McShane, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Appreciate it, brother. So tell us a little bit about where you come from, where you started, and how you got into the business.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like a lot of us, I was born in New York, Port Washington, Long Island, and moved down to Florida when I was young. So about 5 years old, came down to Florida with my mom and dad, grew up in Coral Springs down in Broward, and had a very normal childhood. Life was great. And played sports, played baseball my entire life until I tore my shoulder going into my senior year of high school, but sports was my life. And I've always been very focused on helping others. Lost my dad when I was 13 years old. And then I had to watch my mom really pick up the slack to, allow us to stay in the home that we were living in. Yeah. We had just bought a home and here she goes working 2 jobs day and night to allow us to stay there. So, that was a really great example of what to do when times get hard. Yeah. But, went to school at Florida State. So, I graduated from Stoneman Douglas down in Parkland, went up to Florida State, had some fun up there. And then when I came back, I got into the health insurance industry to start with. Wow. I instantly fell in love with customer service and sales. It came naturally to me. I for that health insurance agency, I did business retention. So I started off as customer service, worked my way up to the retention team. And that was always a passion of mine. I'm a firm believer that the best sales pitch that you can provide is stellar customer service. Yeah. So if you're servicing your clients' needs, they will not only stay with the company, but refer you people and things like that. And that's how I approach real estate is, how can I be helpful? And it's worked out very well for us.
That's awesome, man. And honestly, there's nothing as motivating as seeing a parent struggle when you're younger. Mm-hmm. When I was young, my mom had 3 tumors, back to back to back. And when she got out of the hospital, my dad was nowhere in sight. Yeah. Nowhere in sight. And when you see your mom struggle and have to juggle so many balls in the air just to keep you guys fed, I mean, it really, from a young age, it changes the way you think.
Absolutely.
And you go from, I would say, being a leech to having a provider mentality and really wanting to just go out there, work your buns off, no matter what it takes, not make any excuses, and just make it happen from a young age.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's not necessarily my story with that. I didn't take the initiative back then to be that provider. It kind of went the opposite direction. Yeah. We'll get into it, but went down, I guess, a different path for a little while. Yeah. But, it's crazy how much we have in common because, I lost my dad when I was 13, unexpectedly committed suicide. Wow. And, then on the 29th. So in 2 days, it'll be 5 years since I lost my mom to cancer.
Really?
Yep. So, I watched her go through it, and it was extremely hard, but seeing how she lived her life when she was, battling cancer was inspiring. And, I'm really grateful for the last couple of years that we had together, because I wouldn't be the man that I am today without my mom.
Unpack that for me.
She was, it was always about other people, and I never understood that. Growing up, I was an only child. I was, had everything that I could have ever wanted. I grew up in a very wealthy area, but we weren't wealthy.
Yeah.
So it was always keeping up with the Joneses. And, I had friends that were getting new cars, and I wanted new cars. And the crazy thing is, and back then I took it for granted, but I never wanted for anything. She always figured out a way to make it happen for me. Yeah. And now that I'm an adult and I pay my own bills and stuff, I realize like how extremely hard that must have been on her salary.
Yeah.
Let alone, what we make, and, sometimes it gets difficult, but on the salary that she had, being able to provide the way that she did is something that I'll never forget.
Yeah. What single moms go through is mind blowing.
Yeah. I mean, just complete self-sacrifice, complete self-sacrifice, and just wanting the best for your child. I mean, it's not even something that I can really say I understand, because I don't have kids yet, but I just hope that when the time comes and Caitlin and I, do have kids, that I can be even just a sliver of what she was to me.
That's so powerful. And one of the biggest problems in the country today is the lack of fatherhood. There's so many children that grow up without a father, and it's actually far more than it even was in the 60s.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
The statistics are startling. It's like 75% of like a certain demographic compared to like 25% back in the 60s. It's absolutely, It's like flipped. And we can see a lot of problems that happen in life statistically when a boy specifically grows up without a father. They're 9 times more likely to end up in jail or become a drug addict or just go down the wrong path. So I think your story is so inspiring, because I mean, I got into the business when I was young. Dude, I made so many mistakes before I turned 18, but I know that's rare. Most people make a lot of mistakes until they're in their, late 20s.
Yeah. I mean, that literally is my experience. I made some I don't look at them as mistakes though, because I am a firm believer that we all have our own journey. Yeah. We all have our own path to walk. And, like you said, growing up, after graduating high school, went up to Florida State, to go to college, and it was just a 24-hour party, nonstop. Like I joke around that I didn't graduate, but I got a PhD in partying. I learned how to, and that's just what it was. There was nobody there to hold me accountable other than myself. Yeah. And, that freedom, I just wasn't ready for it. And, I went down that wrong path, and, we were just talking about this, but, last Friday on the 21st, I just celebrated 7 years of sobriety.
Congratulations.
I appreciate that. And, I wasn't going to bring it up or anything like that, because I don't say it to like tout my own horn or anything, but it's important for people to know that there is another way, that you don't have to stay stuck in wherever you are in life. There always is an out or a solution, and for me that came, it was years and years and years of, trying to get sober and, trying to do it my way and this and that, and just stuck in this cycle of not getting anywhere and just kind of going further and further down the rabbit hole. But at the end of the day, 7 years ago, when I was finally ready to do something about it, I didn't want to get sober. I really didn't. I quote unquote tried it so many different ways that I thought that I was hopeless, and then by the grace of God, one day, April 20th or April 21st, 2016, my phone dialed a guy that I had known, from trying to get sober. And within 5 minutes, he was at my house, took me to Taco Bell, and here we are. But once you're ready to, accept that message, and the reason that I don't want to take us too far off topic, but what I learned in trying, getting sober this time around is I apply it to all areas of my life. I didn't know what to do. And I had tried it my way so many times. And here there were these guys that they were living the life that I wanted to live. You know, they were happy, they were joyous, they were free, they had families, all these things that I never even thought were possible for somebody like me. And all it took was me just following some suggestions and doing, you know, if I asked them for help and they gave me a suggestion, I listened to it because they obviously knew something that I didn't. So then fast forward into business, you know, I don't know everything, and I'm perfectly okay with realizing that I don't know everything today. And I love that because it's not about knowing everything. It's about knowing where to go to find the information.
Yes.
And when I got into real estate, you know, and even before real estate, I worked for a financial publishing firm over in Delray Beach. Loved the company. It was absolutely phenomenal. I thought I was going to retire there.
Wow.
Real estate wasn't even on my radar. They paid me very well. You know, it was just a great culture. And then all of a sudden the culture shifted and we brought in some new people, and it became not so much focused about the customer as it was about the profits. And, you know, that I found myself constantly having these discussions about what was best for the client and being overruled. And it was frustrating, but I realized at that point, it's not my business. It's not my company. If I want to be able to treat my clients the way that I want to be able to treat my clients, the way that they deserve to be treated, I got to be doing my own thing. Yeah. And I took a 4-week leave of absence, got my real estate license when I was on that leave of absence, came back, and here we are.
That's incredible. By the way, shout out to Matthias Fretz, who's with Douglas Elliman, like top 1%. He lives a life of sobriety as well.
Oh, wow.
And he is an extremely productive individual, like monster producer. So yeah, tell me, I mean, I want you to kind of unpack, how has sobriety impacted your business?
It's like I said, you know, there's so many parallels. You know, I don't live a sober life and then business life or reality, you know, like it's all one for me. So the same principles that I, you know, were taught and apply in my sobriety of, you know, being helpful to other people, you know, having the courage to ask for help when I don't know something. And then more so than asking for the help, but being willing to accept the help when it's offered to me. Yeah. That's how I operate in business, you know, especially in real estate. When I first got licensed and signed on with Illustrated Properties, you know, I had a couple friends that were in the business, and their biggest advice to me was find a brokerage that will offer mentorship. Yeah. Find a brokerage that, you know, and not so much the paid mentorship, but find a place where agents aren't going to mind sharing their time with you. So when I got on at Illustrated, I was introduced to two guys, CJ Minardi and Vittorio Ferricelli. Okay. Two of my best friends today, you know, but at the time I didn't know them. I didn't know anything about them. We all kind of shared the similar personalities. So we kind of clicked right off the start, but they were doing the type of business that I wanted to be doing. And what was that? Luxury real estate. When I first signed on, I'm pretty sure it was right around the time that I had just signed on. They had just, CJ had a couple listings with Mark Julian, who's a builder out in Delray. Yeah. You know, new luxury townhomes in downtown Delray. And then they also got a $9.5 million intracoastal front listing in Palm Trail. Wow. So here I am, a newly licensed agent. And, you know, I went to them and said, listen, I want to help. Yeah. You know, what can I do to be helpful? You know, I was there. I was doing open houses for them. I was just anything that I could do to be helpful, because I knew if I put myself in the center of that scenario, I would grow. Yeah. You know, I would definitely grow. And that's kind of how that took off. And the thing is, and we had talked about this earlier, when I first got into real estate, people, you know, there were some people that said, you got to start small. Yeah. You know, you have to start small. You have to pay your dues and, you know, blah, 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 blah. And I fully disagree with that, you know, because if I spent the first 5 years of my career doing, you know, rentals or $200,000 deals or this and that, and meanwhile, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. But I had a vision for where I want, the type of business that I wanted to be doing. Yeah. But if you spend all your time doing that, you're never, that's two totally separate markets. So how am I going to prepare myself for the luxury market if I'm not doing things in the luxury market? So jumping in with both feet right off that, my first deal was a $1.5 million purchase. I had a buyer for $1.5 million. So it was like I just got thrown into that market and I loved it.
And I think this is something that every realtor out there should really pay attention to, because we know so many realtors out there that got into the business during COVID.
Yeah.
And you're one of them. And a lot of them are getting out of the business now. But you have doubled your business year over year, and you're breaking records as we speak. I mean, your pipeline is intense.
Yeah.
So, you know, can you unpack, like, what was it like the first year in business? What kind of mistakes did you make? What did you learn from? And what are the top mistakes that realtors in the business right now make when they're jumping into their niche?
First year in the business was challenging. Not gonna lie, you know, it was fun. You know, I was helping C&J Inventorio. Things were going great, but I kind of went into it with a naive attitude. You know, I had this client that wanted to buy, you know, up to $1 million, and you know, right off the bat, in my mind, I had already spent the check before I had even taken them out for a showing. You know, like, this is going to be so simple. They know what they want. They're cash buyers. Bing, bang, boom. You know, get it done. It took 11 months. Wow. 11 months to get a place under contract. You know, I went the first 11 months basically without a paycheck. And shout out to my wife, Caitlin, because A, I would not be where I am today without her. And, you know, B, she was working a full-time job. So she was able to help us, you know, we didn't have many bills at the time. So she was really able to, you know, kind of pick up the slack if, you know, when the checks weren't coming in on my end, to allow me to follow my dream. You know, I was leaving the financial publishing firm, you know, and having that realization that if I want to treat my clients the way that they deserve to be treated, then I'm going to have to do my own thing. Like, there was no other option. It was, this has to work. You know, this has to work. I'm going to put my, you know, everything into it. You know, and another parallel with sobriety, you know, alcoholics and drug addicts, you know, we're very driven people. You know, it's just, when I was doing that, when I was living that life, it was applied in the wrong areas. But then, you know, being able to get sober and apply that same type of passion, because we're really creative. I mean, there were times that I did not have a penny to my name and I still got what I needed to get. I figured out a way to do it. And in, you know, life today, if I can just approach life with that same amount of creativity, tenacity, but for a good purpose, I'll hire an alcoholic or an addict that's sober any day of the week, because they're, you know, it's just, our brains work differently. So, you know, it had to work. This had to work. I was not going to go back to work, you know, working for somebody else. I mean, obviously, if real estate didn't work, you can always get a job, but you can't always start a business. And it was tough, man. It was right at the beginning of COVID. Everybody that I knew said, you better go beg for your job back, because the market's going to crash. Everything's going to hell. Mm-hmm. And you just better pray that they allow you to get your job back. And I said, this is going to work. This is going to work. And here we are. And
what a scary feeling that must have been, because at that time, honestly, nobody knew what was going on. Mm-hmm. If you look at inventory data, you know, a lot of well-educated economists did predict that the real estate market would be stable. I actually thought the market would be stable because of the CFPB and basically forbearance preventing a foreclosure crisis. But a lot of people that are not in the trenches every day in finance, I mean, most people did not have access to that data. Yeah. And if you don't have access to that data, the average person is going to logically, with common sense, assume that 2008 is going to happen all over again.
Yeah, but even still, you know, the way I approach real estate is people are always going to need a place to live. Exactly. You know, so even if the market is downtrending, people are still going to need to sell. Exactly. People are still going to want to buy. So how can I put myself in a position to help these people accomplish that goal? Exactly. You know, even if the market does go down, people are going to need to buy, or people are going to want to sell. So I still had the confidence that it was going to work, because when you put your clients first and you put, you know, the helping of others, you know, first and foremost, things tend to work out, you know, and like I said, you know, thank God for my wife, because she believed in me. You know, we had been through a lot. We weren't married or anything at the time. We were still dating, or, you know, maybe engaged, I think. But she was there for me when my mom was, you know, fighting cancer, and when my mom passed away, she was there for me. We had been through so much in the first couple of years of our relationship that it was like us against the world. You know, we're going to make this work. We're going to make this work. And
what do you have to lose?
Exactly. I can always get another job. We can, you know, we actually had not renewed our lease where we were living and moved in with her parents. So we didn't have rent to pay.
Wow.
We didn't have a lot of bills. We did it, smart, but at the same time, it was, what do we have to lose? Let's give this a shot and let's put everything into it.
Exactly.
And it worked out.
And I just finished reading Big Money Energy by Ryan Serhant.
Yeah.
And he got into the business September 2008 when Lehman Brothers filed bankruptcy.
I remember hearing that in his story. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. And so his mindset was like, oh, geez, like, the world's falling around me, but what do I have to lose?
Exactly.
People still need a roof over their head.
Exactly.
And if you believe in the location, he believed that New York City would always be one of the great cities in the world. And I fundamentally believe, and ever since I got into the business, when I was homeless, I had this fundamental belief that South Florida is so special. And honestly, it's proven by science. Like, you look at a heat map of what areas in the country have the kind of climate, the kind of tropical climate that we have here. And it's just us and Southern California.
Yeah.
And, I know we're not going to talk about politics on this podcast, but the policies in California are so backwards that, that's led to so many people moving here.
Absolutely.
And we live in a free state. So we have so many advantages here, and we're so blessed to be in South Florida. So I'm glad we're talking about this. Now, before we pivot into the next topic, can you just share, like, from your perspective, what kind of road did you go down as a result of your father passing away when you were 13? What kind of struggles did you have at a young age as well? And, what did that teach you in regards to who you are today?
I'm really not of the mentality that I'm like going to blame it on that. Like, I could easily say my dad, committed suicide. I was the one that found him. That's why I became an addict and an alcoholic. And that's why I did all these terrible things and blah, blah, blah. And it's not, like, I believe that my brain's wired differently. I'm an effect-based person.
Yeah.
All I want is to feel good.
Yes.
And at that point in my life, mom working 2 jobs, here I am just hanging out with the friends. Once I got injured and stopped playing baseball, because that was my life. I was at practice right after school. I was hanging out with the team. But once I removed that from my life, and looking back on it, that may have been my first addiction, is playing baseball, sports, just being in that environment. But now I didn't have that, and I had to go find some new friends to hang out with, to fill the time. And that's where, stuff started to get dicey. But even still, I could blame it on those people and say that they are the reason that I went down that path. And the reality is, I just wanted to feel good, and drinking and doing other things gave me that feeling, so it was my solution at the time, until it wasn't anymore. And at the end, and you hear it all the time, but it went from being a party and having fun and this and that to, it was, I needed to do that on a daily basis just to get out of bed, or to be, to be alive, things like that. So it wasn't fun at the end, but it's not anybody else's fault. It's just, these are the circumstances. I don't regret anything, because I would not be where I am today if you go back and change anything in the past, and that's, I don't live with regret. I learned from, the mistakes of my past. So, and I try my best on a daily basis not to repeat those mistakes, but I'm grateful for every single experience that I've ever had, because I would not be where I am today had those things not happened. And also everything in life, man, good things, bad things, even the darkest of clouds will have a silver lining.
Yes.
And when I'm going through something these days, it was losing my mom, she actually passed away on the day that I celebrated 2 years sobriety. All she wanted her entire, once I was older, but all she ever wanted was to see me stay sober. Wow. See me stay sober. And here's this woman was fighting for her life in cancer treatment and watching her son throw away his.
Wow.
And I can't even imagine what that must have felt like, but all she wanted was for me to stay sober. And I was able to give that to her at the end. We had a fantastic relationship, when she passed, but, I kind of forgot where I was going.
Oh man, that was powerful.
But, as far as the experiences, I approach every experience these days as, this is an experience that I'll be able to pass on to somebody else. So, and I guarantee you, whatever you're going through, if you're going through something challenging, if you're going through something that's just absolutely horrible, you will at some point meet somebody down the road that is going through exactly what you went through. And if I can just get through this, if I can just make it to the other side of this situation, maybe I'll be able to reach out and help that person through the situation. So, every dark cloud has a silver lining, and that's how I approach life. So even though all these bad things have happened, I did all these bad things, blah, 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 I've been able to use those experiences to help other guys, to help them, because we come from the same place. It is what it is.
So in other words, you didn't throw yourself a pity party. You took full responsibility. You took ownership of the situation, and, white space was the enemy for you. And that was totally the case for me. Anytime I got into trouble when I was younger, it was because I was hanging around the wrong people and I had too much free time.
What's that expression? Idle hands are the devil's playground.
Yes.
I don't know how to just sit around. I'm going to find something to do. And that, like you said, being young, hanging out with the wrong kids, wanting to feel good and having nobody to stop you and having all this free time now that I wasn't playing baseball anymore. Yeah, that's a recipe for success. But at the same time, there's a million other people that have gone through what I went through and they didn't take the path that I took.
Yeah.
So, it's just, I look at it as a very, case by case thing, but I'm grateful for everything that's ever happened, because I wouldn't be sitting here across the table from you today. You change anything. You see it in the movies all the time. Somebody travels back in time, changes one small little thing, the butterfly effect, and everything changes. You never know what's going to change. So I don't regret anything that's happened. I don't, wish that I had done anything different, because I love this life that I have today. I'm living the dream, man.
Absolutely.
I'm living the dream. I'm married with a beautiful wife who is not only my wife, but my business partner. She keeps the things moving and, keeps the deals closing. And I'm able to do what I do best because she helps me with what she does best.
That's amazing, brother. And I think that being obsessed is a gift. Having an addictive mindset is a gift. I have an addictive mindset. My ass was sent to rehab when I was like 15 years old in the middle of the hood in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And I was one of two people that out of 60 that hadn't gone to prison.
Nice.
These were just like all grown men. It was so funny.
Yeah.
I became really close to all of them. And I, when I was there, I really thought about the rest of my life. And I was only there over the summertime, and it really changed my life. It had a profound effect on me because I saw where a lot of these people had their life end up, and it really wasn't pretty because most of them were grown men. And God doesn't make mistakes.
Nope.
And for all the millions of people out there that struggle with addiction, that haven't found the right path, God can change their lives all tomorrow. But sometimes, especially because God doesn't make mistakes, he puts people in our life to show us why we need to remain on the proper path that he's shown us.
Absolutely, man. I mean, and the reality is the way things are these days, people are dying left and right out there. If I went back to the life that I was living, I would not be alive today. It's scary what's on the streets these days. But what you touched on with having that obsessive mentality, when I could overdo anything, and I'm a very passionate person when it's something that I like. So, any job that I've ever had, even the financial publishing, I remember nights being at the office in downtown Delray till like 4 a.m, just planning out stuff. I started off as a rep, and then I was, I had a team here. We had a team in Maryland and a team in Ireland, and I just loved it. I love what I do. And then even in real estate, I remember having a conversation with Caitlin when I was getting into real estate, and said, I'm a workaholic. I definitely can be a workaholic. I love what I do. And is real estate something that you could see yourself wanting to do? Because for me, and she had a passion for wanting to get into real estate, and it was a win-win because now I'm able to work all the time, but I'm working with my wife. We're helping people. We're spending time together. I didn't want to be that husband or down the road, that father that is never home because he's always working. Yeah. So now, we're either working or we're not, but we're always together. And that's huge. And literally her coming on and helping me has allowed me to focus on other things. And I know that you've touched on that before as well. And it's incredible, man. Having that partner in life to just you and them against the world is something I never thought was possible. Yeah.
I mean, you guys definitely are a power couple. Now, can you touch on what is it like working with your spouse and what are some of the obstacles that had to be, overcame? But then also, what are some of the fruit of that?
Yeah, I mean, it's good. We're not in the same office or anything. I mean, she actually is the administrator for one of the illustrated offices over in Manalapan. So, by day, she is the administrator for that office, helps out all the agents. They love her over there. She loves it. But really, she does, once I get a deal under contract or, we get the listing agreement signed or whatever, she takes it from there. All the paperwork, all the transaction coordinating, communicating with the title company, communicating with the lender, whatever it is, she keeps that on track so that I can focus on bringing in new business. So I get the business, I bring it in, she keeps it going until it closes. But we had been through so much in the first couple of years of our relationship, with the struggles and, my mom and everything, that we really don't have too many challenges, working together. Obviously, every once in a while we'll have a different, opinion on something, but overall we're really on the same page, 99.9% of the time. We're thinking the same things. I can't even tell you how many times I've gone out and bought her a random gift, just a because I love you surprise gift.
Yeah.
And I get home and she literally bought the same gift for me.
No way.
Completely random. It's not a holiday. It's like a Tuesday afternoon, and then here I am, I'm going to be so creative and romantic and blah, blah.
Yeah.
It's sitting on the counter when I walk in. She already bought the same thing. It's like, it's scary how in tune we are.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's so amazing, man. You're so lucky to have found that partner. And I'm so blessed to have Victoria in my life. I mean, we got some great women in our life. Yep. Now, tell the story about how we met.
So, I mean, the power of social media, right? The power of social media. I can't recall how I came across your page on social media, whether it was somebody sent it to me or, but I saw your videos and I watched your videos. And from the moment I saw your profile and your videos, I just knew that this was somebody that is a professional. He conducts himself well. I was fresh into the business. I don't even think I had worked with a lender at this point. So, it's knowing nothing, but I go to the Palm Beach outlets to go shopping and I'm walking through the parking lot and there you are. You're walking through the parking lot and I was like, oh my God, that's the guy from Instagram. So I ran back to my car, grabbed a card, ran over and I just you must have thought I was like some crazy person. Like I'm yelling through the thing, I think I said Molina or something because
you said Molina Monday.
Yeah, Molina Monday.
I was shopping for Victoria for Christmas.
Yeah. And here's this random guy coming up to you in the parking lot. But, we talked for a few minutes. It was, great to meet you. We gave you a card and then, we've done a couple deals together and here we are on the podcast.
Man, well, for anybody
years later,
for anybody listening out there, I mean, take that advice because that is the day that I became a diehard Brandon McShane fan. Because when you go out of your way to give someone else honor, you automatically reciprocate the honor back. There's just something that happens in the mind of the other individual. So, I mean, one of the best ways to start out a relationship or even a conversation is with honor.
I like that.
It goes so far. And you led by example. And I've been able to, monitor your growth in your career since then. And you are an animal, dude. Like you are an efficiency freak. You bust your ass. You wake up early. You put in the work. You stay up late. Like you are a machine.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, let's talk about jumping into the luxury market. Yeah. Okay. What was that like for you? And also one thing I want to point out for all you realtors listening out there is what I love about Brandon McShane is so many realtors that are in their third year that are putting up like big numbers right now are out there spending who knows how much every month buying garbage Zillow leads that have a 3% conversion ratio. You are almost exclusively by referral only.
Oh, 100%.
Can you unpack that for me?
Yeah. I mean, we market our listings and things like that. I'll run Facebook ads or Google ads and, we get the word out for listings, but I don't spend a penny marketing our brand, to try to get new clients. And I'm very grateful for that. It's when you treat your clients right and you put them first before anything else. And I say this all the time, but I literally, especially when I'm working with a buyer, you hear all the time that sellers ask, oh, well, we have to have the buying side commission at this percentage or else the buyer's agents aren't going to bring clients by to see our listing and this and that. I don't even look at the commission until we're under contract, getting ready to close, because it's not about me and my pockets. It's about my clients. And if they want a property and it's only a 1% commission, what am I not going to show it to them?
Yeah, right.
Of course I'm going to show it to them, but putting my clients first and, really making sure that we don't only meet expectations, but exceed expectations. One deal has turned into another deal, and you never know where your next deal is going to come from. We have a $3.5 million oceanfront condo that we're bringing to market probably within the next week or two. And that came from a referral from somebody that isn't even a client of mine. They live in a building that I do a lot of business in. I met them once, we've stayed in touch. I always say hello when I'm in the building. I see them. They were recently renovating their condo and they happened to see me there on a showing one day. And they said, oh, you got to come take a look at the condo. We just finished it. No intention, they're not selling their condo. They're not buying anything with me. Yeah. It's just, they live in the building. I'm always there. They're really nice people. And I said, we just built this relationship. It's not about, I don't always have to be doing business with somebody to have a relationship. But then fast forward, that guy works in a building that, has high-end properties. And one of the guys that lives in the building said, hey, I need a real estate agent. I want to sell. He goes, I got the guy for you.
Wow.
And here we are. And I can't tell you how much business I've gotten as a result of that.
And that's because you were intentional of going into the luxury market in the beginning of your career, early on.
Yeah. I mean, it just so happened that way that, CJ and Vittorio, they were doing luxury real estate. And I wanted to do the business that they were doing. So I just surrounded myself with them and a couple other agents that were in the office at the time that were doing, higher price point deals. And it wasn't so much about the price point. Like, yes, the high price point is nice, but I like luxury properties. I didn't get into real estate and start my own business to be miserable. Why would you want to be doing business you don't want to be doing? What's the point of that? If I want to do something that I don't want to do, I'll go get a job, work for somebody else, make them rich, and go about my life. Yeah. I made a firm decision at the beginning that we're not going to get stuck in the chasing the dollar signs. We're not going to get stuck in the, rat race or the spinning wheel of, we're just going to take anything that we can. Like, yes, at the time, obviously you do have to do some deals. Maybe it's not your ideal property, this and that, but I only wanted to do a certain type, just nice waterfront properties. That was always my dream is, waterfront properties. I didn't want to sell condos. I had no intention of selling condos. Ended up having a deal in a condo building that really put us on the map. It was a fully gutted penthouse condo in Palm Beach, 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom. The owner had been trying to sell it himself for 10 years. 10 years going around the building, trying to sell it himself. And I mean, at this point, prices in that building were low. This was before COVID.
Yeah.
Before the market exploded, I should say, because it was during COVID. But you really didn't see anything over like 300,000 in this building, which when I saw the building, I was like, wow, this is a hidden gem. This is fantastic. The building's run very well. They got good management. They got good, reserves, things like that. Like there are so many pros. And then you walk into this condo and you're looking dead out over the Intracoastal, over Hypoluxo Island and Manalapan. And like the views were just incredible. And I'm thinking like, how has he not sold this? In 10 years, how does that happen? And the reason that he didn't want to use an agent, he didn't want to pay a commission. He did not want to pay a commission. I respected that.
Yeah.
And I actually had met him because he was riding his bike through the plaza one day. And I threw him a bottle of water. Said, hey, you want a bottle of water? He grabbed it. And then we stayed in touch.
Really?
And then, it was about a year of just keeping in touch with him, checking in every here and there. How's things going? He calls me up one day and says, hey, I got a buyer for my place. I accepted an offer. And I said, did you sign it yet? Because it was low. It was like 230,000. And he's like, yeah, we're moving forward. I was like, all right, well, if you need a title company, I'll send you a title company. Like there was nothing in it for me, other than just being helpful. But that deal fell apart right before closing.
Okay.
And he called me immediately and told me, and I was like, let's do this.
Yes.
So he didn't want to pay a commission. He was about to accept 230,000. We put this place on the market for 349,000, which I literally had people in the building telling me I am crazy.
Yeah.
It's never going to sell for that much, blah, blah, blah. And this place is fully gutted down to the studs. And you know, it was just so surreal to me because I'm thinking, why do these other residents want me to fail so badly? You know, like it's going to help their property values if I do well. But, you know, it was just, you're crazy. This is never going to work out. But what I did was I had one of my graphic designers, rendering artist, hired a rendering artist to take the photos. I went through the unit with my photographer and we took photos like we would at any other listing. But I had the rendering artist virtually renovate the property to show what the finished product could look like. Then I took those images, blew them up, you know, into 24 by 36 poster boards, put them on easels in front of every view. So like you walk into the room, there's the photo of that view, there's the easel, so you can see what it's going to look like as a finished product. I had a red carpet that we rolled out. You know, we did an event for the building, a preview event the night before we went live on the MLS.
That's brilliant.
And, you know, so I have a red carpet in this gutted condo. There's no walls, there's no lights, there's no anything. It's concrete subfloors. Like it was just a construction zone. Yeah. And the first day on market, we sold it for $75,000 over asking price.
Wow.
And from that day, it was, you know, the one guy in the building that kept busting my chops about, you're never going to sell. Now he's my biggest cheerleader. You know, I literally, we walk through the building and people like, he'll tell people like, he's the guy to call. You need anything, he's the guy. And like, it was great. And that's been a building that I've done quite a bit of business in. And going back to Dreams, when I sold that one condo, there was an oceanfront penthouse. And I said, I want to sell those units. March 1st, they just closed. We just finally got the listing and sold in a day on market, the oceanfront penthouse. We have consistently set and broken records in that building year after year with every listing for the most part.
Wow. Now, how'd you think of that idea with the red carpet and printing the pictures out and putting them in the house that were already staged? How'd you think of that?
I mean, we watched a lot of $1 million listing. You know, I saw the way that CJ and Vittorio had done their listings with their luxury, you know, $1 million properties. You know, there's the level of attention to detail, the level of care, the level of, you know, I don't want to approach this as it's only a $349,000 property. I want to approach this as it's a $300 million property. You know, like it doesn't matter about the price point. We approach every single deal the same way. Every one of our clients gets the same level of service, whether it is a $100,000 deal or a $100 million deal.
That
you know,
it's
not about the money. It's about the people, because the $100,000 deal might have an uncle that is ready to spend $100 million, you know, investing in South Florida real estate. You just never know. So I don't ever want to be, you know, discriminating against price points or anything like that. But, you know, it just kind of came, you know, I've always been a very creative person.
A lot of people watch $1 Million Listing, right? A lot of people spend time with other, you know, top producers that are maybe in their office, but you went to these guys wanting to be discipled. You had a be obsessed or be average mindset. And you took what you were watching on $1 Million Listing, what you were learning from these guys, and you broke it down in a very granular way of what you could do to be unique. All right. And you didn't listen to the doubters, and you proved them wrong, and it worked out in everybody's benefit and interest. Now, can you break down for me? Because I think it's amazing how also you shared a story of you following up with someone for a year, right? And as professionals, follow up is the name of the game. As sales professionals, follow up is everything. I mean, because communication is everything, but follow up is communication. Can you unpack your follow-up strategy?
Yeah. I mean, I treat people like they're human beings. You know, that's it. You know, I come from a place of service and a genuine, like in that entire year of following up with him, it was never about real estate. It was never. It was happy holidays, happy this, you know, how are you doing? How's your sister doing? You know, what's going on? Just checking in from time to time, but not on a schedule, not overwhelmingly, you know, because at the end of the day, people, you know, like a big misconception that we have, like I don't sell real estate. That's the thing. I don't sell real estate. You know, you walk into a house, you walk into a condo, you are going to know within the first 5 minutes if it's for you or not. You know what you're looking for, you know what you want, you know if this is that. You know, everybody wants to buy, nobody wants to be sold. And I view myself as an agent as it's my job to make sure that when my client finds that property that they actually do want, that I do everything possible to make sure that they end up living there.
Yeah.
And it's about the service and making sure that the deal goes smoothly. You know, if I'm selling somebody a property that they don't love, you know, let's say you really wanted a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, oceanfront, this and that, and I got a new listing that's on the Intracoastal, that's 1 bedroom, it's not even updated, it's nothing like what you're looking for. But I convince you and sell you to buy that other one so that I can make a check. A, you're going to be miserable after the fact. I'm never getting a referral from you. Now I'm developing this reputation of just being a salesperson. And, you know, going back to what I said earlier, I think the best sales pitch is providing extremely outstanding customer service. So, you know, the follow-up and everything else, it was just being a human being. You know, that's all it is just being a human being and checking in and having a relatable conversation. Now, also, it is being able to read and know the person on the other line, you know, the other end of the conversation, because this guy was not a very business-focused gentleman. You know, he wasn't an investor. He didn't live in the condo. This was a property that he had inherited from parents, and it had been sitting for 10 years. You know, it wasn't a priority, clearly. So if I'm just badgering him every other week about what's going on, I'm going to turn him, you know, push him away.
Yeah.
You know, I believe in attraction rather than promotion. You know, the things work out the way that they're supposed to, as long as they know that I'm there for them.
So really knowing your client, knowing their communication preferences as well, their personality type, I think that's huge. Now, when you say being a human being, break that down for me. What does that mean?
I mean, and there's so many parallels between sobriety and this, you know, it's just, I've met so many incredible people, you know, on my journey of sobriety from different backgrounds and different, you know, ethnicities and different countries and this and that. And, you know, on the outside, we're all so different, right? You know, like you don't look the same way as me. You're from a different country. You don't speak the same language. But, you know, when we get together for that singleness of purpose of sobriety, you know, we share that in common. So it allowed me to really learn how to connect with people, listening to people. I never listened back in the day. I was always waiting to speak. And somebody kind of hit me with that one time. I forgot who it was, but they said, you know, there's a huge difference between listening to somebody and waiting to speak. You know, I used to be in conversations and you would be talking and I'm just waiting for you to finish so I can speak. And I don't really listen to anything that you're saying. And, you know, how many times has that happened to you? You know, somebody calls in, they're trying to pitch you something over the phone. You tell them X, Y, and Z as to why you're not going to buy. And they just keep pitching and keep pitching and keep pitching.
You can tell.
Yeah, you can tell they don't even care. You know, they're not even listening to what you're saying. So really listening to my clients, you know, identifying what their needs are, what their wants are, what their goals are, what their dreams are, and then doing everything in my power to make sure that they accomplish that.
When did that change for you?
When did what?
Truly listening.
Getting sober. You know, this time around 7 years ago, you know, 6-7 years ago, you know, as kind of the last 7 years have played out, it's evolved. But just, again, I surrounded myself with people that were living a life that I wanted to be living, and not materialistic things, just how they approached life was completely foreign to me. You know, it was always about me. And now these guys are being so selfless to save my life. You know, they weren't getting paid. I wasn't paying them, you know, for helping me or anything like that. And I became infatuated. Like I said earlier, you know, I'm an effect-based person. All I ever wanted to do was feel good. And, you know, getting sober and meeting these guys and doing what they were doing, like the feeling was intoxicating. It was, you know, it was such a good feeling, better than any, you know, drunk or high that I had ever had. I didn't have to worry about a hangover the next day. And I approach life, you know, it's like I said earlier, that it's not that I'm a realtor on, you know, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, then I'm sober Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It's all the same, you know, it's all just who I am. And I really believe that if you just listen to people, they will tell you what they need. They will tell you what they don't need. And, you know, as a person in the service or sales industry, you have to be able to identify those needs and, more importantly, what they don't want, so that you're not wasting their time, or that they don't feel like you have commission breath and you're just trying to, you know, make a check.
That is so powerful. And I think that that's one of the biggest reasons why you've had so much success so early on in your career and why your momentum is gaining rate at such a high velocity. It's because out of all the best negotiators that I know, all the killers, the titans of industry, when I ask them, what's the key to negotiating? What is their best negotiating tactic? They say, listening.
Yeah. I mean, it was Mike Ivan Sevic was talking about it on the episode the other day.
Shout out to Mike.
You spend a couple minutes. Yeah. I mean, he's with Illustrated Properties. He's a great guy, and that's the thing. Illustrated, I have not yet met a person at a top producing agent at Illustrated that would not be willing to take a phone call if I had a question, or just, help out in any way. And that's what I love so much about the brokerage is the culture and the environment and the selflessness of these people, because it's in line with how I live my life. But he had even said on when he was speaking with you, he had that phone call with that woman, and within a couple minutes, she had identified so many weak points. Because when you talk with people, they will tell you things without even realizing that they're telling you these things. And that is how I approach listing appointments. Any realtor has access to the same information, the same data, the same this, the same that. I know my numbers, I know my market, I know my product, I know what's out there, but I don't bore you with numbers and statistics and this and that, because at the end of the day, you know what you want to sell your condo for. And let's say it's worth $1 million, but you want $2 million. Nothing that I say is going to convince you to sell for $1 million. You want that $2 million. Yeah. That's what it is. But everybody is going to be bringing CMAs. Everybody is going to be bringing numbers and this and that. And it's so boring, and they don't understand. A lot of times the client doesn't understand what we're talking about, because as realtors, we forget that we do this every single day. But for our client, it might be the first time that they're selling a property. It might be the last time they're ever going to sell. First and last. They're going to buy a place, sell a place, that's it. So, sometimes, and I've caught myself doing this before, but, like something kind of like a little hiccup in a deal. We didn't get the clear to close yet, or we have to extend closing a week. And it's
only when I'm not the lender.
Exactly. Never with you. But it's like, a little hiccup, nothing crazy.
Yeah.
But the client freaks out.
Yes.
And I've caught myself in the past, like, why are they getting so upset? And then I realize this is only a hiccup to me because I deal with these things every single day. Yes. I know it's not a big deal. For them, this is the biggest transaction of their life, and they feel that something is going south. So I need to be able to effectively communicate what the issue is. And they need to trust me that if I say it's not a big deal, it's not a big deal. But that all starts at the initial meeting. When I go on listing appointments, when I meet with clients for the first time, it very rarely has anything to do with business. We talk about ourselves. I ask them about their life, their family, what their goals are. It's just building trust in a relationship, because if they can trust me and they like me, then I know, where there's a much greater chance of doing business. If they know everything about everything in the market like the back of their hand, right? But you just don't like them as a human being, or you don't trust them to have your best interest at heart, are you really going to let them, sell your home where you live? You're not even going to let them through the doors. So it's really about building that trust, making sure that they understand, I know my stuff. I know my stuff very well, but it's more so about knowing that they can trust me.
Yeah.
And that when push comes to shove, I'm going to do everything within my power to fight for them and fight for what they need.
That's what I can feel when I work with you, is you have this professional intensity, but it's in such a caring way. And your clients do come from like literally every walk of life, various countries and cultures, and you handle everybody with such delicacy and white glove service and so much authenticity that it's noticeable.
Thank you. I think, it goes back to, my background and retention for the insurance agency, going back to, the struggles that I've had within my life, it's allowed me to have empathy. And the thing that people don't understand is, how are you going to be able to appreciate the good times if you've never had a bad time?
Yeah.
How do you even know it's a good time if you've never struggled? If life is just rainbows and unicorns all the time, how do I know that that's a good thing? So having gone through what I've gone through and, having the background that I do in, business as well, it's allowed me to develop empathy, and I can connect with my clients, whether it's, if something's going south in a deal and they're freaking out. I've been in those situations before, with the health insurance and this and that. I'm able to relate with them, and I can put myself in their shoes. I feel like that is so crucial in business, especially in real estate with what we do for a living, is being able to put myself in my client's shoes and see the situation through their eyes. How would I want my agent to be speaking to me? How often would I want my agent updating me? How would I want them to do, just all these different things? I see it through their eyes, and I've always been very good at matching somebody's energy. So, I'm able to, match their vibe and, but in an authentic way. It's not like I'm just, being Houdini or whatever, just playing a role. Like I really connect. And every one of my clients, we have, so many different relationships, from client to client. The relationship looks very different, but it's always centered in service, care, and making sure that they walk away happy with whatever it is that we're doing. Buying, selling, renting, investing, whatever it is, I want to be their go-to. And then outside of that, the deal ends, but the relationship doesn't. And that's what's been so, impactful for, profound for us, is just the relationships that we've built, the pipeline that we have. And, they really say like the first 2 years is slow. And it was also, I think, for realtors that are getting into this business, it's important to be able to discern between productivity and motion. Just because you're busy all the time or that you're doing this, that, and the other doesn't mean that you're being productive.
What are the activities that you decide to focus on every single day that are the most important?
Obviously when you have something under contract, just staying on top of making sure that things are moving along in the right way. But really, how can I, grow this business, and thinking, what are the clients that I want to be attracting? What are they doing? And how can I be in that? You got to be where they are. You got to do what they do. You've heard it on your show before. I've heard other people say it as well. Like, if you just stay in the center, then everything works out. But, just marketing and growing the brand. Right now I'm very focused on the brand and growing it. I want to have, a couple agents on the team. We're very, very busy. We have clients that, I would love to have some assistance so that we can, really make sure that we're not, nothing's falling through the cracks. Not that anything is, but we could start taking on so much more business as well if we had some other people. But I'm also very, very selective. I'm not just going to hire or, let anybody join the team, because it's my name.
Yeah.
It's my name, and my clients deserve to be treated a certain way. And I need to, if I'm going to put you in touch with somebody, I need to be 1000% confident that it's going to be a seamless experience, so that you're going to walk away happy. Because if I refer somebody, and this has happened before, because I tested out an agent once, a couple actually, but, put them in touch with a client of mine that we had a really good relationship. This lead, was a client, but maybe like a rental, and wanted to give them something, an opportunity. I was going to work it with them, but they just never called. Or when they did call, they never followed up. Or, it wasn't the same experience.
Yeah.
And I will not sacrifice quality for quantity. I don't want to just build a team where I have 100 agents doing $1 million, dollars a day, and, everybody walks away upset. I don't want that.
And that's what brand is. Brand is how you conduct quality control. Now, before we conclude, I want you to get really granular and really tactical on, when you're at a listing appointment, how do you implement empathy? How do you implement listening on a very granular level to stand out amongst the other agents? And then I want you to drop some bombs about branding on us.
I let them do most of the talking. It's the 80-20 rule. I remember hearing about that, years ago. And, if you just let them talk, they'll tell you, like Mike was talking about when he was on here with you, if you just let the client talk or the prospect talk, they'll tell you things without even realizing that they're telling you things, or reading their body language, seeing kind of how they're saying a certain thing when they're saying it. I've always had an ability to just connect with somebody on a very genuine and real level. And that's I can't really put words to it aside from just, if you look for the signs, you'll see them. But it's if you just go into it with the mentality of, how can I be helpful to this person? You know, I'm not approaching it looking at, oh my God, I'm going to make this much money. It's, I have an opportunity. Somebody has invited me into their home to sit down, to give me the opportunity to sell their home for them. Like, and that's the thing that realtors don't understand, or, you know, not realtors, but, you know, a lot of agents, you know, there's quite a few agents. We've had a huge increase in people getting their license since the pandemic. They thought it was going to be a license to print money. Fortunately, pretty much every agent that I've ever worked with, you know, we're done a deal with, has been phenomenal down here. But, you know, there are some out there that it's all about them, or all about the check, or, you know, things. And we just always wanted to not go down that road. We always wanted to just, you know, be genuine, be helpful to our clients. And there was something else that I was going to say on that, but if it'll come back to me.
Well, the 20/80 rule, that's a very powerful tactic right there. I think people can start implementing that in their business right away. Mm-hmm. Drop a branding bomb on us.
I mean, I think it's just absolutely crucial and important to if that's the route that you want to go. But I want to build a brand, you know, and I spent time, you know, early on, you know, developing a logo and, you know, different graphic designers. And granted, I can be a very big perfectionist, which has hindered me in the past, you know, getting so focused on making something quote unquote perfect that nothing gets out. You know, social media, that was a challenge in the past, you know, just not putting anything out there, getting caught up in just the fine details, when, not saying that just putting out something that's good enough is good enough, but you have to be putting stuff out there. You have to be doing the deal. You know, logos can evolve over time, but have one. You know, don't just wait 10 years to put out a logo because you don't love the one you have. Figure out a way to like, you know, to love it. And then if it evolves down the road, it evolves down the road. But really building a brand, and building a brand that somebody can trust. You know, like my clients, they feel comfortable referring me to friends and family because they know that I'm going to be there for that friend or that family member. You know, I view my clients as family. You know, that's really what it is. I view my clients as family. I love them to death. I'm grateful for the opportunity. You know, we're not selling shoes here. Yeah. You know, we're not selling clothes. And that's really the biggest thing that I focus on is, this is somebody's home. This is either where they're going to be living. This is where they have lived for years and years. This is, you know, a very large financial investment, and it's not about my check. Yeah. You know, there's enough money, there's enough business to go around that if you just focus on the client, focus on making sure that they have their needs met, you know, we live a very good life. We live a very good life. We don't want for anything. You know, there's always room to improve. You know, I'm not going to get complacent, but I never thought, especially, you know, looking back 7 years ago, never thought that my life would look the way that it does today. And it all focuses and centers around being willing to ask for help, being willing to accept the help that was offered, and then how can I pass that on to somebody else? And that's with sobriety, that's with business, that's with friendship. It's, if I need help, I'm not afraid to ask for it these days, whether it, you know, whatever situation it is. But then I understand the responsibility that if I'm asking for help, I need to be willing to accept the help that's being offered to me. Yeah. And then at the same time, how can I be in a position to help somebody else? You know, how can you know that if you have something going on that you can call me and I'll be there? Yeah. You know, how can I relay that to you without really saying it, just by actions? Because everybody can talk. Actions speak louder than words. You know, put your feet where your mouth are and walk the walk. Don't just talk the talk. And, you know, that's where we really excel for our clients, because I would rather underpromise and overdeliver than overpromise and underdeliver. Yes. There's no coming back from that. You only get one shot to make a first impression. And it's funny because we have a listing coming up, and I was just, you know, messaging with the owner before, but we got photos done. Yeah. Photos came out great. You know, really came out great. I don't love them. Had a second round of photos done with a different photographer. They came out fantastic. I don't love them. I am not, you know, this is a situation where we're still waiting for certain things on the seller's side to kind of get worked out before we put the place on the market. So we still have some time here, but I'm not going to rush or be complacent with throwing something out there that isn't the best. You only get one shot for a first impression. So we are actually going to have it reshot for a third time now with Claudio.
I was about to say,
he just did a shoot for me. Similar situation. Had another, photographer come in. Photos weren't bad, but the owner didn't love them. And he came out, absolutely blew it out of the water.
If you're a realtor out there and you want to get photos done the right way, hit up Claudio and his team at Studio 910 West Palm Beach. They were just on the cover of Luxury Home Magazine.
Yeah, man.
These guys
incredible.
Are so talented and so dedicated. And speaking about branding, because I'm always talking to Claudio about branding. We're always making videos about branding. I'm always breaking bread with him, like trying to pick his brain. We're always helping each other get to that next level. We're brothers like that. Your brand is your reputation.
Yeah.
Your brand is how you follow up with your customers, how you develop that relationship, how you really pour into them and understand that it's all about being a human being and deepening that relationship. And then the professionalism and the work ethic that you put behind it and your follow through as well. That is your brand.
I mean, think about it, man. I'm not a real estate agent that happens to be a human. I'm a human being that happens to sell real estate and, be in this field. So, that's the one thing that we all have in common is we're all human. We choose to do different things professionally and stuff like that. But look at Claudio, it goes back to exactly what we talked about before. Kids, 12 months ago, he was a waiter.
Yeah. Now
he just got back. When he shot the unit for me, he had just gotten back from being in Los Angeles. He was shooting a $60 million mansion in LA. And now he's going to the Hamptons to shoot a $150 million mansion out in the Hamptons. What about you can't jump right into these things? What about you have to go X amount of years before you can do that? It's not the case. He wanted to do luxury real estate and he has taken every single step towards accomplishing that goal. He's built the team. I mean, it's incredible what he's accomplished.
It's amazing
in such a short period of time. Yeah. But really, the reason that I enjoy working with him and will continue to work with him is the service that he provides. The owner was there for the shoot. She had a couple requests that were a little out of the realm of what's normal, or usually the sellers aren't even there, but this time we wanted her there because she didn't like the first shoot. Everything was yes, no problem, we'll get that done, absolutely not a problem. I know other people that would probably be like, I'm the professional, you're the client, I know what I'm doing.
Of course,
take a hike.
Of course, yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's their property. It's their condo. Why not just do it? You're getting paid, you're there anyway. Let's remove our egos from the situation and just be helpful and realize we do this every day. They don't have the empathy. How can you be helpful? And at the end of the day, you snap an extra photo or two, so be it. It's not the end of the world. We can always, choose which ones to put on the market, on the MLS when we get there, but unnecessary drama, so much of it in this market. But, Claudio is fantastic. Really just want to again shout out, CJ Minardi and Vittorio Ferricelli, because I would not be where I am today without either one of those guys and everybody at Illustrated. They're all fantastic. And then my wife, Caitlin.
Well, shout out to Caitlin, shout out to CJ, Vittorio, shout out to Claudio as well. Yeah. Where can people find you?
So on Instagram, I have brandon.mcshane.realtor.
Okay.
And then we also have the McShane team.
Okay.
The McShane team. And it's the same for Facebook and Instagram.
Got it. And where can they find your phone number and email as well?
On the Instagram and Facebook pages. Also, you can Google me, Brandon McShane, Illustrated Properties. It'll come right up. But my phone number, 561-512-7476. And you can email me at brandon@themcshaneteam.com.
All right, fantastic. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was over an hour of absolute knowledge bombs. Remember the name, Brandon McShane. All right. He's only going to get bigger, badder, and he's only going to become a better listener, if that's even possible. Okay.
And the same thing with Chris Molina.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, be sure to like and follow the podcast. Leave us a 5-star review. There is no other podcast in South Florida that is interviewing top producers every single week to bring you guys the strategies that's going to genuinely make a difference and impact your life. All right. I don't go out there and say, hey, pay me $500 a month to get coached and have insider access to these people and their knowledge. So all I ask is my currency is just leave me a 5-star review. Follow the podcast. All right. And if you need anything, All right. I'm here for you 7 days a week. You can call me 561-801-0260. Fully underwritten pre-approvals. Average clear to close in 6 days. Best rates on the market. Okay. So let me know if you need anything. But ladies and gentlemen, and Brandon McShane, thank you so much for being on the show. Can't wait to have you back, brother.
Thank you for having me, man. It's an honor, and I'm looking forward to being back as well.
Sounds great, brother.
Thanks, man.
Take care.